Top 10 most modern countries in the world. In this video, we will take a look at the top 10 most advanced countries in the world. Number 10. South Korea. East Asian country South Korea, also known as the Republic of Korea, is located on the southern tip of the Korean Peninsula and has a turbulent recent history. After World War II's conclusion in 1945 and South Korea's liberation from Japan, North Korean Communist forces invaded the country a few years later. Aid from the UN supported the South's transition to democracy and helped put an end to the three-year war. Along the peninsula's center, there is still a significant gap separating the two countries. It was difficult for South Korea to establish actual democracy. Even though the nation's first general democratic election took place in 1948, authoritarian rule and military coups frequently occurred in the years that followed. But since 1987, the nation has routinely held direct presidential elections. Number 9. Switzerland. Switzerland, or the Swiss Confederation as it is formerly known, is a little nation in Central Europe with 16,000 square miles of glacier-carved Alps, lakes, and valleys. It is one of the richest nations on Earth and has long been admired for its impartiality. As a defensive alliance between cantons, the Swiss Confederation was first established in 1291. The Confederation was freed from the control of the Holy Roman Empire in 1499. An era of struggle came to an end in 1848 when a new constitution transformed the Confederation into a unified federal authority. The nation has since experienced a largely peaceful period. According to the CIA World Factbook, Switzerland has one of the greatest gross domestic products per capita, a skilled workforce, and low unemployment. Low corporate tax rates, a financially dominated and highly developed service sector, and a high-tech manufacturing industry all contribute to the nation's robust economy. Number 8. Australia. The continent of Australia is inhabited by the Commonwealth of Australia. In addition, the nation has a few islands, most notably Tasmania. Before the earliest British settlements of the 18th century, the area had been inhabited for at least 40,000 years by native people. Similar to the UK, Australia is governed by a parliamentary democracy. The executive reports to the parliament even though it divides its federal government into three arms: the judiciary, executive, and parliament. Queen Elizabeth II continues to serve as the formal head of state, but the country severed all constitutional connections to the United Kingdom in 1986. British, Celtic, and American cultures have all had an impact on Australian culture since the late 18th century. But in recent decades, immigration from non-English speaking countries, particularly from Asia, has changed the country's demographics and shaped its popular culture. The gross domestic product and per capita income of Australia, a country with a market-based economy and a high gross domestic product, are regarded as being relatively high. The service industry and the export of goods are the two main drivers of its economy. Number 7. The United Kingdom. The United Kingdom is a highly developed country with a significant impact on worldwide politics, economics, science, and culture. A nation off the coast of Europe, Great Britain is made up of the islands of England, Scotland, and Wales, as well as the northern part of the island of Ireland. As a result of its exit from the European Union, new concerns have been raised about the nation's position on the world stage. New guidelines for interaction between the UK and the European Union are established by the Brexit process. The freedom to live and work between the UK and the EU, for instance, has ended, and UK nationals will now require a visa if they wish to stay in the EU for longer than 90 days and 180 days. Number 6. Sweden. The Kingdom of Sweden occupies a substantial portion of the Scandinavian peninsula, is one of the largest by landmass in the European Union, and is bordered by Norway to the west and the Baltic Sea to the east. Border disputes during the Middle Ages led to the establishment of the modern-day country, which has its capital in Stockholm. Sweden has long maintained its neutrality in times of war despite its violent history. As a result, it is now a reputable leader in world affairs thanks to its dedication to human rights, public service, and sustainability. Like other Nordic countries, Sweden has a highly capitalist economy with a sizable portion of spending going to public services. Tax rates are now lower than the average for the world, and a well-developed infrastructure and transportation system help to distribute wealth equally. Its citizens enjoy one of the highest life expectancies in the world and have access to free healthcare and higher education. Sweden recycles almost all of its waste. Number 5. Canada. Canada is the second largest country in the world after Russia, since it occupies almost 2/5 of the North American continent. Most people in the sparsely populated nation reside within 125 miles of the country's border with the United States. The vast wilderness to Canada's north and the nation's reputation for accepting immigrants both have a significant impact on Canadian identity. European exploration surged in the 1500s, despite the Norse briefly settling in Canada around the 10th century. Britain and France fought for dominance in the area, with the British securing their position in 1763. Until it attained independence in 1867, the nation was a conglomeration of British colonies. The country of Canada takes pleasure in encouraging all of its residents to respect their distinct cultures. Canada implemented a multiculturalism policy at the national level in 1971, which honors the nation's diversity. At the same time, Quebec, a province with a large French-speaking population, and Indigenous people in Canada face issues on a national level. Although wide-ranging cultural and linguistic autonomy is permitted under constitutional protections for the province, calls for total independence occur in waves. Number 4. Germany. With one of the biggest economies in the world and the most people of any country in the European Union, Germany has steadily increased its influence in the globe since reunification. The Bavarian Alps are located in the south of the country, and its northern lowlands extend to the North and Baltic Seas. The country is located in Central Europe and has 9 bordering countries. Although ancient Germanic tribes in Northern Europe still exist, the present German state only emerged in the 19th century. The nation was split after the country's defeats in the 2 world wars of the 20th century, and reunification took place in 1990 as a result of the fall of the East German communist regime. A parliamentary democracy, Germany it is. Today's strong rules that handle both hate speech and the denial of the Holocaust are an expression of the Nazi heritage. Number 3. France. It is difficult to overestimate the impact France has had on the world throughout history and current times. One of the oldest nations in the world, France is located in Western Europe. Through science, politics, economy, and maybe most importantly, culture, France has a global influence. The Middle Ages saw the beginning of France's transition from monarchy to empire to republic. It was one of the first countries to support individual rights. The executive, legislative, and judicial departments of France's government are each given a certain amount of authority. France is categorized as a wealthy, high-income country by the World Bank. For the assurance of certain social services like education, healthcare, and retirement pensions, French residents look to the federal government. Number 2. United States. The United States of America is a North American country that dominates both the global economy and military. Its popular culture, as seen in music, film, and television, has left a profound cultural mark on the entire world. With the COVID-19 outbreak and the subsequent severe economic downturn, the nation is currently struggling. And after Black American George Floyd died at the hands of police in May 2020, cries for more social justice sprang up once more across the nation. Similar movements have been sparked in nations all over the world by public demands to confront racial inequality in the nation as it is manifested in institutions like the criminal justice system and healthcare. Number 1. Japan. Japan is an East Asian island country with more than 6,800 other smaller islands and is one of the most technologically and literally developed countries in the world. Japan's population lives a distinctly metropolitan lifestyle, even though the majority of the country is made up of mountains and densely forested areas. Since its neighbors have long affected its culture, the nation now combines elements of its historic customs with Western culture. The late 4th and early 5th century BC are when the nation first came into political unity. From the late 7th through the late 12th century, when civilization was at its height, there were several more centuries of military control. From the early 1600s until the middle of the 19th century, when its ports became accessible to the West, the nation was cut off. In the 1900s, Japan had ambitious territorial goals and invaded many nations only to lose World War II. If you like it, kindly give your valuable response in our comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting and informative videos.